Many people out there have been speculating on that Meghan Markle has lied about her age.
I thought, is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy.
She's absolutely ruthless.
This is Meghan's first trip to the snow. Dad took her up to Big.
Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working, or somebody with the name Meghan Markle filled out a questionnaire for Sears, the company, claiming that she was 21 years of age.
Is Megsy really lying about her age? It says that she was born on the 4th of August 1981. It's saying that she's 44 years old.
Meghan Markle has faced criticism before, but this time, the conversation feels different.
For a new edition of his book set to reveal huge secrets inside Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage.
Because now the questions aren't just about what she said, they're about what doesn't quite add up. And when one of Britain's most relentless royal biographers steps in, people start paying attention.
Needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the...
If you want more deep dives into royal stories like this, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives, because this one is only getting started.
Tom Bower, the legendary royal author, is sharpening his quill for a new edition.
It began quietly, a resurfaced discussion. A few old records.
When she was younger,
Hi, Daddy. I'm English award.
100% a bully brat. Nothing original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Some dates that didn't seem to line up.
Is Megsy really lying about her age? It says that she was born on the 4th of August 1981. It's saying that she's 44 years old.
At first it looked like just another online theory. The kind that appears, trends for a moment, and disappears. But then Tom Bower spoke. And suddenly, it wasn't just noise anymore. Bower isn't a casual commentator. He's spent years building a reputation as someone who digs deeply. His books on powerful figures have sparked controversy before, often because of how far he's willing to go to question public narratives. So when he began raising new questions about Meghan Markle's past,
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan.
people didn't ignore it. They leaned in. Because the issue he touched on wasn't small, it was basic, foundational. Her timeline, and more specifically, her age. Now, on the surface, this seems simple. Meghan Markle's birth date has long been publicly listed as August 4th, 1981. That information appears across major publications, interviews, and official profiles. Case closed, right? That's what most people assumed. Until older references started resurfacing. Archived media mentions, entertainment listings, fragments of early career data that didn't always align perfectly with the official timeline. Individually, they could be dismissed. But together,
She's absolutely ruthless.
This is Meghan's first trip to the snow. Dad took her up to Big.
Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working,
they created something else. A pattern of questions. And Bower didn't present answers. He did something more effective. He pointed out the inconsistencies and let the public draw its own conclusions.
What is going on here? Why the secrecy around this woman's birth certificate? Why the secrecy? Why the mistakes in age that are so blatant for others?
That's when things escalated. Because once a question like that enters the public conversation, it doesn't stay contained. It spreads across forums, across social media, across commentary channels, dissecting every detail. And suddenly, people weren't just asking what was true, they were asking why the question existed at all. Because here's the thing. In the public eye, consistency matters, especially for someone like Meghan Markle, a figure whose life has been examined, documented, and debated on a global scale. From her early acting career to her royal entry, to her departure from the monarchy, every detail has been scrutinized. So when even small inconsistencies appear, they don't stay small for long, they grow, and this one grew fast. Some pointed to early entertainment databases that listed different birth years at different times. Others referenced media articles from decades ago that didn't seem to match today's official records. And while none of these pieces alone prove anything definitive, that wasn't the point anymore. The point was perception. because perception shapes narrative, and narrative shapes reputation. And right now, the narrative was shifting, not dramatically, not conclusively, but enough. Enough to raise eyebrows, enough to trigger debate, enough to bring Meghan Markle back into a spotlight she knows all too well. And this time, it wasn't about royal duties, or interviews, or family tensions. It was about something much more personal. Her story, or at least how that story has been told. And as the discussion intensified,
she had a very clear idea of where she wanted her path to take.
The reality is she's a joke.
And in some way or other, undermine Harry's and Meghan's credibility.
Something else stood out. Silence. No official response, no direct clarification, no attempt to shut it down publicly. Now, that doesn't prove anything. Public figures ignore rumors all the time. But in the world of media, and especially royal media, silence doesn't end a story, it feeds it. Because people start asking a different question. If it's nothing, why not say so?
Ignore them if they keep popping up doing stuff like this. We're kind of in a mutually abusive, toxic relationship, aren't we? The media and Harry and Meghan.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
That's where the tension really begins. Not in the claim itself, but in the reaction to it, or lack of one. And Bauer understands that dynamic better than most. He doesn't need to make bold accusations. He just needs to ask the right questions and let the pressure build.
And you know what? This is like her education in university. She claims that she double majored in international relations and theater, when Northwestern has never given a major in international relations.
And pressure is exactly what started forming, because the conversation didn't stay contained to age. It expanded into timelines, into early career details, into how public figures shape and sometimes reshape their personal narratives over time. Not just Meghan, but celebrities in general. Actors adjust ages, profiles get updated, records evolve. That's not new. But when it intersects with someone who transitioned from Hollywood into the British royal family, the stakes become very different. Because now it's not just entertainment, it's history, it's legacy, and it's public trust. And suddenly, what started as a small question became a much bigger one.
Meghan is a consummate survival actress.
She was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real.
How much of what we know about public figures is fixed, and how much is curated, that's the deeper layer. And it's what keeps people watching, because whether you support Meghan Markle or criticize her, one thing is undeniable. She remains one of the most talked about figures in modern royal history. And stories like this, they don't fade quickly. They evolve, they build, and sometimes they reach a turning point.
Yeah, she lies a lot about her stuff. We've caught her in so many lies. Her own sister has come forward. Family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling.
And this one might be closer than it seems. Because just as the discussion was gaining momentum, a new wave of commentary began to emerge. Not just questioning the details, but questioning the bigger picture behind them. And that's where everything started to change. Because this was no longer just about a date, it was about credibility. And once that word enters the conversation, the stakes rise instantly. And what happens next could define how the story is remembered or rewritten. Sign, because once credibility is questioned, everything else gets pulled into the spotlight. And that's exactly what started happening next. The conversation didn't slow down, it sharpened. Commentators began revisiting past interviews, old clips, statements that at the time seemed harmless, but now placed under a different lens, they felt different. Not necessarily wrong, not necessarily misleading, but open to interpretation. And in today's media environment, interpretation spreads faster than facts.
Professionally, they've gone down dramatically. And I predicted it in the book.
Because people don't just consume information anymore. They analyze it, remix it, challenge it. And in Meghan Markle's case, that scrutiny has always been intense. But this time, it wasn't coming from just critics. It was coming from curiosity.
That's the thing about Meghan. She's a very, very deceitful person.
What the hell is going on with this woman? Is she adopted or is she just a natural? I mean, is she such a liar?
A shift that's far more unpredictable because criticism can be dismissed, curiosity lingers. And Tom Bauer knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't need to prove anything conclusively. He only needed to introduce doubt. And once doubt enters the public narrative, it becomes incredibly difficult to remove because people start connecting dots.
That was her goal. #goal, to marry Prince Harry.
She had a clear motive. My little sis. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant.
Before she met Harry, you had no doubt she was your sister.
My little sister. Because it would seemingly justify and perhaps delay the revelation of all of the lies that she had told.
Even when those dots don't necessarily form a complete picture, that's when the conversation reached its turning point. Not when the questions were asked, but when the audience began asking their own. Why are there discrepancies in older records? Why do certain timelines feel unclear?
August 4th, 40 years ago, Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section. Well, that's her first wedding in Jamaica. That's one of my favorite pictures. I'd like to have that experience with my granddaughter.
And most importantly, why does this even matter?
I'm wondering, why does her age matter at all? Because her age would also have an impact on her ability to have children.
That last question is where things become complicated, because on the surface, it doesn't. A birth year doesn't define a person's achievements. It doesn't erase accomplishments. It doesn't change impact. But in the world of public figures, especially those tied to institutions like the monarchy, details matter. Consistency matters, because those details build trust. And trust, once questioned, becomes the real story. That's the broader implication here. Not whether one number is correct or not, but how quickly perception can shift when even small inconsistencies appear. And for Meghan Markle, perception has always been a battlefield. Supporters see her as someone who challenged tradition. Critics see her as someone who carefully constructed an image. Both narratives exist at the same time, and stories like this amplify that divide, because they don't offer clear answers. They offer tension, and tension keeps people engaged, keeps them watching, keeps them debating, keeps the story alive. And then came the next wave. Media outlets began picking up the discussion, not as confirmed fact, but as a growing conversation. Carefully worded headlines, subtle framing, questions raised, timeline revisited, debate resurfaces. No direct accusations, just enough to keep the story moving forward. And in that moment, something became clear. This wasn't going away anytime soon, because the story had evolved beyond its original point. It wasn't just about Meghan Markle anymore. It was about how narratives are built and how quickly they can be challenged. And in the middle of all this, Meghan herself remained silent. No clarification, no statement. And again, that silence doesn't confirm anything, but it does something else. It allows the conversation to continue without interruption. And that's where the climax of this story really sits, not in a dramatic reveal, not in a definitive answer, but in the tension between what is known and what is being questioned. Because the truth is, there are still no verified records publicly contradicting Meghan Markle's official birth date. That remains unchanged. But the conversation around it, that's changed completely. And sometimes in the world of public perception, that's enough to shift focus, enough to create doubt, enough to redefine how a story is seen. And for someone whose life has been so carefully documented, analyzed, and discussed, even a small shift like that can have a lasting impact. Because once people start looking closer, they rarely stop. And that's where we are now. A story without a clear ending, a question without a definitive answer, and a public figure once again at the center of global attention. So, is there more to this? Or is this simply another example of how quickly narratives can spiral in the digital age? That's something only time will reveal. But one thing is certain, the conversation isn't over, and as long as questions remain, people will keep watching If you want more deep dives into stories like this, where fact, perception, and narrative collide, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives, because the next story might be even bigger.